hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Prep with Ms. Pam, where we're preparing all scholars for success. Okay, and so in today's episode, we're going to talk about learning letter sounds. I've written some letters on the board that are pretty easy for beginning readers to learn because their actual name is a clue to what sound the letter makes. So like B, B, D, D, J, J, K, K, P, P, T, T, V, V, Z, Z. So some of our scholars are smart enough to know that, and they will say, well, if I know the letter name, it's going to help me identify a sound. I've had some scholars, when I show them the letter H, they would actually go A because they think that is an indication of its sound. And because letters like H and W and Q are not as easy because their name, the name of the letter, does not give an indication of the sound, educators have to be creative with how they help those scholars learn those sounds. So look at this W. The W makes the sound W, as in worm. So you might want to introduce W in some kind of visual way that the students will remember that it's W. Give it the shape of a W, but use a worm as that visual memory, okay? The trigger their memory. And Q, because of its name, I've heard students say that Q makes the sound K, because they're remembering that if B says B and J says J, then Q must go K. And we know that QU makes qua, like in quarter. So one of the ways I introduce the sound that Q make is say, imagine that that stick or that line is a finger saying quiet. So let me show you what I mean. This is like a person holding their finger up to their mouth, telling the students quiet, okay? Students pay attention to those things and they use those as memory joggers to help them identify the sound. So you want to do something visual, and the great thing with technology is you can create it and make it visually appealing, but you want to do something that trigger those students who struggle with the fact that, you know, although the letter is pronounced Q, it makes the sound qua. And as you're teaching that W says wa, for some learners, they are looking at the color words that are posted around the room. And they see brown and they see yellow that have the letters W in them. You're going to stop for a minute and remind those scholars, because the goal is to meet all learners' need, that W is a consonant that says wa in many words, and that's the skill we're practicing today. But in some words, based on the placement of the W, it is operating as a vowel. Let me show you. In the word brown, you wouldn't sound that out with the W saying wa. It's operating as a vowel and making owl, is helping the O say owl. And we'll learn more about that in our learning at school, because at school there are so many wonderful things to learn. Same thing in yellow. The W is not operating as a consonant, is working with the O as a vowel. So those learners who are wondering why they see W out of its place, address that. And that's how we build a nation of readers. If you like this lesson and you want more about how we can introduce letters visually, or just want to see more lessons related to teaching letter sounds, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I appreciate you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.